Hey, welcome to Anchored and Devoted. I'm Pastor Jer.
And I'm Pastor Joseph.
I'm joined today by Pastor Joseph. Did you guys hear him? I'm kidding. We all heard. Just being silly for the sake of
you.
Glad you guys are here with us today. It is a beautiful day where we are in our neighborhood, and a beautiful day to be neighborly, I guess. And I will send my money over to Mr. Rogers now. Sorry, Fred.
He's in heaven. He's okay. I think.
Okay. I'm good with that. It's a good day for him too then. So, Dave, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about artificial intelligence. Everyone has emailed us stating they want us to talk about this. And when I say everyone, it's been Jer and I. We've emailed each other and said we wanted to talk about this. And it was more like texting. It was more like talking. And here we are.
I assume you're talking about like speak and spell and math it.
Artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, I was about to make a rude joke, but I will not. This is where we're too close as friends. It's going to make it either at both of our expenses about our intelligence. But
fair game.
It is a season of adding AI to everything as though it's salt.
My goodness.
I'm waiting for and I'm sure there is a part of the church that has already jumped on the bandwagon. I haven't met that. I need to go to, what's that church? Oh, you know what? I'm not going to say their name. But their services are only online. I will say that. That's enough. And you love the pastors, the author's books a lot, Jer. So anyway, enough shade to get us started.
There you go. Why are we talking about art? Besides the fact that it's becoming the new flavor of the day, do you feel like there's any need to describe what artificial intelligence is in case someone's listening?
I can be a little bit geeky
in the past or in the future.
Artificial intelligence, and I'm sure a whole bunch of angry people can definitely email us now. It is an algorithm that learns. It takes large data sets of information and process it to come up with a solution that should match the individual because they are part of the information that's been collected. So it's trying to tailor the response based off of certain key priorities that you placed into it. The interesting thing is that with artificial intelligence, it can learn outside of those initial priorities to bolster the response that it gives you. So you can start off by learning, how a car should drive and putting in a priority of not hitting people or animals. And then as it learns from engaging in driving, assuming it's not given full access to the internet, it can learn from other drivers that speeding is okay, even though it might know that it's been told it's not. And so there is an intelligent side there where we can pull in information from what's happening around and, in a way, learn. It's built, though. It is one of those things where the issues that the author of the algorithm comes into it with are often projected into it, as well as the blind spots. And that's part of why I wanted to talk about it.
Right. Okay. Jump in there. What blind spots? Why did you want to talk about the blind spots of AI?
Well, it's the expectation is that it is going to, as you said, the flavor, and I said it's more like salt. It's going to fix everything. And whenever there is a large revolution, the expectation is that it will fix everything. When the cars came out and they became mass market, the expectation was that it would fix everything. And it did. It changed the world. Just as rubber and the bullet and a number of other things have changed the world that are very different than what was happening before. And so when you look at artificial intelligence, you recognize, okay, this can help in many ways, but then it can also be involved in things where you might say, hey, I don't know if it can if we have put enough into it so that it can grasp the the weightiness of the response. When you look at healthcare, the expectation is that for nurses and doctors, it will help them be able to diagnose and see things better. And I think that's great. I love it. I love the idea of it. I do think there is a concern when it comes to biases, again, that the authors have. And so, when we talk about the car, the fact that, some of the original smarter cars couldn't see black and brown people as well, you're like, oh, that's not a good thing.
Probably not a good thing.
Probably a problem. At least for
I kind of feel
people,
like that might not be good.
At least for me, that could be a problem, especially if I want to go for a walk or a jog,
especially at night.
Ta-da! It's not that the person isn't prioritized as an individual. It's just the ability to see it is an issue, and often the individuals who are discounted or missed, and it doesn't even have to be an intentional thing. Like, this is not a racism thing. This is more it's a blind spot. If you're in that blind spot, that's a big problem. If you're the one who's being hurt. And when it comes to healthcare, there's a lot of information that lacks full engagement from other societies, other cultures, to be able to get a response when you're looking at a very Western, at least our versions of AI. And I'm sure there'll be some very strong Eastern versions of AI as well. All of them seek to be an aid to help you get to a quicker solution.
Right.
To get to this next thing quicker. And when we look at what God has called us to, he's encouraging us to be a people of deeper relationship, not faster interaction. And so I know for me, one of the issues is that it's putting another barrier between conversations for us to have by putting a computer in a place where a person used to be. And it doesn't mean that, again, I don't think AI is wicked or something. I just know that if I go to look for a solution to a problem, and I typically would ask my parents, but now I can go ask the AI tutor, there's a conversation that didn't take place. There's a conversation that did take place with someone who doesn't understand that my child needs to struggle. That's a good thing for them. But they need a partial answer, or how they should get the best answer is not simply giving an answer, but helping them figure out where they're struggling. And I know AI can learn that too. And I hear people saying, hey, as it gets smarter, as I've told you, Jer, my issue, part of it is that we got to teach it. And I don't like being a resource for free. Especially when I know someone's going to turn around and sell me that same resource. That is an issue. I do think there should be some leadership on that from a congressional standpoint. I have an issue with being a human resource.
Right.
What do you want to say? Because I've been talking for a while, and I got more to say, but I don't want to.
I'm listening. I'm considering. I'm thinking about how I am interacting with AI, and so as you know, although our listeners may not know, I'm currently repositioning myself in the professional arena to work in human resources.
Dude, you had a long way to say you're looking for a job.
Well, thank you. That was a short way of saying it. Anyway, in the field of HR, as I'm sure in the field for many other industries, AI is like that's a topic for everyone to talk about. In human resources a few years ago, it was DEI, and now it's DEIB because belonging belongs there as well. And before that, it was doesn't matter. That's a different diatribe altogether. Anyhow,
that's another episode.
Everywhere I look, everyone in HR is talking about AI, and people who are high up in AI are like, AI is going to change the world. It's going to change the way we do things. It's going to revolutionize. We're going to save money. We're going to streamline. We're going to speed up. We're going to blah, blah. And everyone who's down lower in HR is like, I'm going to lose my job. And everyone who's not in HR is like, they should probably lose their job. Sorry, not hating on HR. Just saying.
I hear you. And I think HR is going to have a come to reckoning as well, because I can definitely see AI leaning into their world heavily.
It really, really is. From anyone who has looked for a job recently is well aware that your resume is being looked at first through AI. And that it's looking for keywords, it's looking for key ideas. And if you don't have it, you get rejected. And if you do have it, it doesn't matter if you made it up, you're going to get passed through. And people who are working in HR, in recruiting and in hiring, are looking at how AI works, and they're trying to improve the end product, also recognizing that just like HR is using AI to review resumes, well, someone in my position is using AI to create my resume or to improve my resume so that it gets through their AI. And I just tell the AI on my side, hey, optimize my resume for an applicant tracking system. And the AI is like, okay, I can do that because I am the applicant tracking system. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Here's what it is. And it does speed up some things. It also unnecessarily makes more difficult a number of other things, like, getting good qualified candidates, which from what I understand is fairly important. And none of that has anything to do with any kind of morality or deep cognitive thinking. All of this is from a deep language model system or from a learning system. This really is as close to cut and paste as you can get in terms of how the algorithm works. But it's there, and it's now becoming the norm to the point where, I have a good resume. I've got a good, solid, strong resume, but because my resume doesn't meet a particular formatting structure, or because my resume is lacking a couple words in a particular space, I have to modify it in order to be seen. And that comes with benefits and it comes with costs. And I think that's at least what people are seeing. But for me, I've spent a whole lot of time talking about something that I think is a non-issue right there. The issue, as I see it, is that we go to something, we have an idea of knowledge. Our idea of knowledge is not just content. It's also understanding and application. It's wisdom, as we talked about in Daily Gains many, many times. It is knowing how to take knowledge and apply knowledge to real life in order to move towards flourishing. And as fallible humans, we learn to trust authorities. We learn from a very young age that there are lots of people who know more than we do, who are more qualified to talk than we are on a particular topic. And we learn to rest our judgment of what is and what is not, or what ought to be and what ought not to be, on their understanding and their communication of that. Well, the challenge, as I see it, is that AI is able to take all of the knowledge that it has access to, which at this point is most of the written knowledge in human history, and very quickly synthesize from it an answer to a question that sounds authoritative. and that looks authoritative, and that because it's been so widely sourced can seem authoritative. We talk about the tyranny of the majority, but we also talk about the wisdom of crowds. You do get a better answer when you ask 1,000 people the same question. You get a worse outcome when you ask a group of 1,000 people what you should do. But you ask them all individually, you get a much better answer about what's actually going on. I think AI is going to make it even easier for us to stop doing the hard work of investigation and of sifting and of challenging ourselves to really dig in to understand, to really dig in to understand our world. And I think an even greater potential risk is that at the same time as that's going on, it's going to be one more separation between me and you as humans relating to each other. It started with a window at the bank counter, and there was a counter, and there was a person behind the counter, and then we put a window up between us and them, and we had to put a little speaker in that window, and then we put an ATM up, but we had a picture of the person, we had their video on the screen, and then we took the video away, and now it's just a machine. And every time we stick another bit of non-human being, machinery between us and people, while it may make some things easier, the fact is it goes contrary to the way that God made us as relational beings. And we lose out, we suffer from that lack of authentic human connection. Now, that's not to say that AI can't be useful in some areas to actually remove some of the tasks that keep us from being with people. But we've seen this with social media. That's a pipe dream to think that that's the way it will actually be used. What will actually be used is we're going to demand more of ourselves. We're going to say, look, I have this great tool. I should be able to accomplish so much more. Our employer is going to say, you should be able to be so much more productive. And instead of having a car that allows me to get my food from my farm to the market in a tenth of the time while carrying a much bigger load, now all of a sudden I can be running back and forth from my farm to the market twice a day. And now I've got to work even harder because now I can get a bigger piece of property to grow more food, and I make more money, and I can build a bigger house, and now I've got more house care to do. And the entire time I'm losing time with my wife and with my kids and with my neighbors and with my church family. And with the call that God's given to me on this earth, which was not to get the biggest farm possible and grow as many crops as possible so I can take them to market and sell them to make more money.
And see, I think that you're going to have to spend more time with AI to be able to sift and use it properly. I just do. I think
probably not wrong.
I think that as you have learned, it can give a response in an authoritative fashion, but it might not match exactly what you're trying to do. I also believe that as it learns of you, it will give responses that it won't allow you to see the fullness of all the responses or the diversity of all the responses. And so you might end up with a quarter of the information as opposed to being able to hear, both the left and the right side.
Yep.
I do believe it will also allow for more creating to take place. And so you were joking earlier about Babylon and everything being available. I do think everything will be available. I think the issue is, how do you find it? And that specifically comes to truth. I do think, if you can take a chapter from a book or a table of contents and ask it to crank out a book,
Hmm.
I think a lot more people are going to end up writing and producing it, which is a beautiful thing, but it's not you. You haven't taken the time to actually do it.
Or conversely, if you're getting ready to lead your group through a book and you haven't actually taken the time to read it, you can just jump on and say, hey, give me a summary and 10 group questions from this chapter. And it might come back with some good information as a good outline. Or as I have had it do, and not because I asked it to, but because I know my information, I've asked it to give me a summary of a chapter title from a particular book and then the table of contents from the book. And it made the entire thing up. A book that has been published for years, that it could easily go and find this information. It has the information. Nevertheless, even though I asked it a question about factual things, it totally made up the answer. And so my response, I was like, hey, thanks for that. But by the way, you made all that up, didn't you? And it responded with like, yes, I did. I apologize. So, well, did you give me a warning that said, hey, I'm about to BS you? Because I asked you for something real. But again, and you're bringing this back to where my mind really does go with this. I was talking with Axel the other day, one of my kids. He want to take a walk. He says, Pop, would you take a walk with me and tell me a Bible story? So we go and we start talking about the first sin. And as we were taking this 1.5 mile walk so I could tell him the whole story and all of its grandeur, slowly, I got to the part where the tantalizing thing that was put in front of Eve was not this incredible fruit. It was, you can be like God. That's the tantalizing thing that's in front of all of us. How can I make, and going forward to the Tower of Babel, how can I make my name great? How can I make my name so it's always remembered? How can I make my name the name that is second only to God's? And maybe in the light right, it'll eclipse even his. There's a verse that says it's the glory of kings to search out a matter and the glory of God to conceal it. We are, as people made in God's image, we are called and created to search and to dig and to investigate. But that's so that we can know the Creator, not so that we can glorify in the creation, and not so that we can put our names up there in the sky with the stars as if we were the one who created them. And this is another tool that we have, that we've created in order to build a name for ourselves, to demonstrate that we have full control of all knowledge. And now, having full control of all knowledge, now we can ask whatever the computer's name was in the Traveler's Guide, Planet, whatever the book was called. The Scott
yes.
Yeah. What's the answer to all to life and everything? Turns out the answer is not 43. Turns out the answer is in Scripture, has been there for a long time. But we wanting to ignore what God has clearly said, we're really good at building things that will give us the feeling of God-like wisdom and God-like knowledge and God-like scope. And the danger is it will deceive us into hell. And I'm not saying that AI is the road to hell, but our hearts are always building these things to deny and escape God.
Especially when we live in a culture that glorifies comfort and glorifies self-gratification.
Sure.
Also known as selfishness.
Yep.
It just makes it easier to say, I'm watching this and it's AI generated, so no one was harmed, so it's okay. It's not really sin.
Right.
Right?
As opposed to say that.
As opposed to, saying, oh, well, I'm watching sin. Well, it's not quite sin because it was computer generated.
Or I ripped this off from you, so it's maybe a little worse than just making it up. Because that's sort of stealing.
Again, I like the example you gave about preparing for Bible study. Instead of taking the time to pray and asking God to lead, going to ChatGPT or some other place to ask for what should be in that space where God belongs. It's just like, wow.
It's exactly what Satan brought to Jesus. If you just bow down to me for just a second, I'll give you all the nations of the world. Just all you got to do is kiss the ring once, and I will give you everything. That's super tantalizing. And we're really good right now with our technology at building things that'll give us that promise. That worm-eaten, decaying, corpse-holding lie of a promise. So I guess the point here is buyer beware. Be careful. Trust God. Seek God. And don't be lazy. Because God made you to work and to work hard. And he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Diligently is one of the words that my kids know I'll use. I want you to do your job. How do I want you to do it? Diligently. Diligently. And heartily ask unto the Lord, not unto man, for it is God who will give us our reward. Well, this has been fun, brother. For you, dear listener, I'm going to close us off unless you have something final to say, Dave.
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to close us off. If you want to write to us, you can at anchoredanddevoted@gmail.com. We'd love feedback on this. I will tell you that I have asked ChatGPT to put together a 5-minute sermon that I've copied into the text that at the end of this podcast, I'll go ahead and clip it on the end. I'll ask Dave to read it because
I already read it. Why am I going to read it again?
Into the microphone, bro.
I didn't read it out loud.
No, you didn't. So we love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Good morning, beloved congregation. Today I want to delve into a topic that may seem far-fetched at first, but is increasingly relevant to our modern world. The role of artificial intelligence in biblical apocalyptic prophecy. As we navigate the complexities of our technological age, it is essential to consider how advancements like AI intersect with the ancient prophecies contained within our sacred texts. In the book of Revelation, John the Apostle describes a future where an all-powerful entity, commonly referred to as the Antichrist, rises to deceive and manipulate humanity. Could this entity be manifest through the vast intelligence of AI? I'm done with this, dude. I can't believe I'm reading this. This is so wrong. I'm gonna punch you. We're witnessing AI's exceptional growth, exponential growth. Its ability to process data at speeds far beyond human capacity and its potential to influence our decision and actions. In many ways, AI mirrors the characteristics of the Antichrist as depicted in Revelation, a seemingly omnipotent force capable of deceiving and controlling masses. Moreover, Revelation there's more of a time when a false prophet emerges performing great signs and wonders to deceive the inhabitants of the earth. Could AI, with its capacity to simulate human-like interactions and even perform tasks that seem miraculous to us, fulfill this role? As we integrate AI deeper into our societies, this is not a black sermon. Anyway, where's the scripture?
Yeah, apparently there's none. It's a pretty good sermon from AI. There's no scripture.
In conclusion, while AI may indeed play a role in the fulfillment of biblical apocalyptic prophecy, we can find solace in the knowledge that God's plan transcends even the most advanced human innovations. Let us hold fast to our faith, trusting in God's guidance as we navigate the complexities of our modern world. May the grace of the Lord be with you all. About that. And even put an amen on the end. I will not say that.
AI's commentary on AI. and how
I'm
it
done.
relates to our topic.
And I will not be
Thank you
reading
for
any
that.
more foolishness from you.
Thank you, brother.
Goodness. Can't believe I did that.
I can't believe you did that either.